Hi Aquarius, this is your Tarology forecast for August 2020, and we're going to look at what card influences are on each of your astrological houses through August. Now you can use this forecast for your sun, your moon or your rising sign. Now your first house of self, in other words this month it's you Aquarius, is the Ace of Swords, which is obviously you, air, in this house, and on the 3rd you've got the full moon. Now the full moon in Aquarius is actually a good energy, unlike some signs, and you may feel a little, more relaxed this month because things are starting to happen for you. So if you've thought it up and now you're ready to go, it's like a bit like that. So there's lots of ideas happening for you Aquarius this August, and the sun is illuminating your ideas. So it's going to cut out all the nonsense and you're going to get to the heart of the matter with things. It's like you're raring to go. Decisiveness will return this month, perhaps that's been a bit dormant over the last few months. Your ideas, it's a fresh start. The way you see yourself with change, it's like you've told yourself, hey, you know what, I'm going to do this. It's clarity. And another thing about the ace, especially being at the beginning, is I think this card literally sets the tone for the month for you. It's like if you've got that project ready and waiting, then it's just go for it. Who cares what people think? The universe is behind you. When you look at the card, she is gesticulating, I can do it. And, it's victorious, and she will. And your second house of money, possessions and what matters to you is in Pisces with Neptune, and Neptune feels at home obviously in Pisces, and you've got the King of Cups. So wow, it's all that watery emotion. You've got Pisces water, Neptune water, the King of Cups water. So this has a strong link to your emotions, but Neptune in the house wants to inspire you to look a little deeper. Now, the planet rules our spirituality and asks us to look inside ourselves for, any answers to things that we need to know. So it's a great aspect for you to have in this house, Neptune. And Neptune is trine with Venus over in your 6th house of routines and responsibilities and health, where this aspect happens. It's on the 27th, and it's going to, really inspire you even more. Don't forget, Venus rules our money, so that the trine is a real positive aspect. Now you could have more control because you'll be more intuitive, because of Neptune grabbing the water energy, and and of course Neptune and the King of Cups. Now the King of Cups representing this house maybe sort of could be a little bit emotionally turbulent, or it has been, but it also shows that you'll be sort of calm and relaxed, about it, thanks to the Neptune energy here. I always think Neptune wants to follow his heart and not his head. It's about following his intuitive side. Now the king, he tends to keep his emotions to himself, and he sort of displays a calm exterior, sort of laid back. But because he's mastered his emotions, he's controlled his outbursts, which gives this perception that, everything's fine, even if it's up in the air a bit. So it might be more beneficial this month to let others see what, you want them to see, and don't make big sort of focuses on finances or, what's yours, because even if things get bumpy, just know that the control is in your hands. Look at the card. Everything seems a little turbulent, but he is, because he's putting, everyone who can see him at ease, because he's not stressing. He's taking it all in his stride. So if financially there are stresses, don't rise to them negatively. With this trine, the energy will be, a certain amount of inventiveness and motivation to get what's bugging you sorted, like quietly and efficiently. Now your 3rd house of thinking and communication is in Aries with Mars in his home sign, and you have the Hierophant. Now this guy is very rigid, correct, traditional. He is communicating in inside the box way, if you get what I mean. He's in Aries with Mars, and the Mars energy is assertive, energetic, when in Aries, even more so. And I think this month Aquarius, you'll find ways to get what you've got to get going, if you know what I mean. A normal and traditional way of doing things. That's the Hierophant energy, and that's how this will all work. So the Mars energy will give you the need to get things done, to get things set up. If you've got to talk business, you'll appear that you know what you're talking about. The whole, most important aspect this month with Mars in the house is with Saturn. Now, this square energy may affect your ability to get on and do this thing that you're doing. And you'll start it fine, but will you see it through? This is another with the square here. Now, the Hierophant approaches everything with an element of, traditionalism. But will he see it through to the end? Now, I wonder, while this square is happening, so my advice would be to do most of the setting up and communicating this and setting up procedures and all that before the 24th of August, because that's when this trine happens. So that the Hierophant is also a sign in this third house that relationships or marriage could have some issues, but only because of a lack of communication. So, while Mars doesn't control our communication, that's Mercury, but Mars can sometimes represent aggression, and in the house of communications, things may not come across as we want them to, or we may end up rubbing our partner or friend up the wrong way. So in the fourth house, that relates to your roots, your family, your foundations. You've got the moon in Taurus with Uranus. Now, Uranus is a planet of revolution, change, transformation and behaviour extremes. Now, this water energy can forewarn of a situation that's not as clear as it looks. Confusion, sometimes a need to sort of look around you and really see what, might be going on. So, but the Uranus energy is sextile Venus on the 18th, and this will, make some of you sort of feel like, I need a change. Now, Venus rules money and relationships, so referring to family relationships, while this aspect is a positive one, it may highlight areas of your life with the moon. You see, it's because of the moon card, areas of your life that you're not convinced about. So while Taurus is solid and Uranus tends to rest in each sign for around 7 years, this I said for another sign, it can give you the old, or some of you, the old 7-year itch, to be fair. So you could be imagining issues where there are none, blowing things out of proportion, because you're bored or you're fatigued. But I feel that some of you will be receiving news that's perhaps a little confusing to you, but you're slightly unsure of. And emotionally, this card in this house could leave you feeling a little up and down. So, this card is there to say, don't go estranging yourself unnecessary from friends or family. Not everything is clear as crystal when this card comes out to play, Aquarius. So if you look at the card, the girl is preoccupied and perhaps not hearing the warning from the dogs below. The emotions, the water, it's all whipped up. It's reminding you not to get into any deeper meaningfuls that could take, you into a different path or be taken the wrong way, what you've said or whatever. So this card has a big impact on your mood and your mental health, feelings of loneliness. But a good idea is to get out, see family and talk things through. And I feel, if things are muddled, remember the moon is a phase that it's in a phase that's passing. It's the same as a mood, it'll pass. Now, your fifth house of love life, fertility and children and creativity is in Gemini, the twins, with the Empress, and this is a great card for this house. It feels solid, and for some of you there will be babies coming your way. This pregnant lady is in this abundant garden, and while this is, an earth card, the water in this card suggests she's like totally emotionally content. And there is, of course, abundance here, as we know with the Empress, but it's a need to be coupled. So if you're single and looking, Aquarius, then this could be someone coming in this month to twin with you, because this is, house of Gemini and the twins. So for those of you in a relationship already, then of course there's aspect of children here, or just a stronger bond being formed. The thing is with the Empress, she creates her own abundance. She's alone, so if you're alone and happy, then you'll be abundant in other areas of your life that'll come through for you. Abundance in your creativity. But she wears a crown of 12 stars, which relates to the zodiac, so she can create her own magic, just like the magician, if she chooses to. So in your house of love this month, the Empress is a real sign of plenty and having more than enough. So exciting energy in this house for you. And the coolest thing here is Venus is in the house of Gemini until the 7th when it moves into Cancer. But Venus rules the Empress. Venus rules our love life and our finances. So the start of the month, Aquarius, is, you know, when a new person may sort of catch your eye, and if you're looking, and you know, even that your relationship that you're in gets like a big boost of some va-va-voom. You know, the sixth house of health, routines and responsibilities is in Cancer, with Venus entering on the 7th. So this is a great energy, and it's like it's following you, because it's the way it's moving. So in this house you have the Four of Wands. So this card placed here, you know, is really positive for building stability in life. It's like a creative collaboration, and not only a card of stability, you've planted some ones and now they're flourishing, you know, they're coming to bud. But this card too in this house can suggest like sharing tasks, responsibilities to make everything seem a little lighter, you know, lightening your workload. While Venus is in Cancer, it's about giving and receiving pleasures and happiness. And the card really depicts this. And although you have like, you know, other really positive aspects in this house, when Venus is sextile to Uranus, which is basically means, you know, while you like your independence, you can find it easy to come together to put things into action, if you like, which will be helped by all the sort of creative ones, if that makes sense. But also the best aspect here is Venus trine with Neptune on the 27th. Now, this is like your creative side coming out. Here we see the planting of wands, and you know they're budding because they've been planted correctly. So eventually they'll blossom and fruit and all the rest of it. So, well, this energy will like help you create new ways of dealing with aspects of your life that may, you know, may have ordinarily felt like a responsibility. If you understand, things don't have to be a drag with these energies that will be surrounding you. Now, your 7th house of personal and professional relationships is in Leo with the Sun until the 22nd, when it enters Virgo, and Mercury from the 5th until the 20th. And to boot, the new moon as well on the 19th. So there's loads of energy, you know, really good fresh energy here, Aquarius. And this house is represented by the 8 of Pentacles, which is 8, you know, a card a cycle. Now, this card is nearing completion. It's a card of mastery. You've finally worked it out, but the card still, you know, says there's work to be done, and you know, before you reach that conclusion. So this can show that for some, that work is taking a toll on, perhaps taking a toll on a relationship if someone's always preoccupied, you know, busy all the time. But this relates to, like, you know, all parts of people around you. All this can relate to you, and perhaps this is overworking, and it's just like you're trying to create something, you know, you're trying to create something lovely and stable for someone else to flourish in with you, or someone is creating this for you. Now, the new moon on the 19th in Leo can have you feeling like a need for a little praise for all the hard work you've been doing. Perhaps you may not feel like, you know, as recognised for this, because some of you, this is like a fresh start you've wanted. The new moon, a new start. 8 represents cycles. So a new cycle now. And while there are many aspects this month with Mercury, you know, the one here that stands out to me is Mercury trine with Mars in your 3rd house of thinking and communication on the 17th. Because in this house of relationship, whether that is personal or professional, there's quite, you know, it's like a really important aspect, because with the Mars energy here, with Mercury as well, this says to me, you know, especially joining with the Hierophant over in the 3rd house of communication, because this is key. So if someone, you know, is working too hard, too many long hours, too preoccupied, the 17th or around that day will, you know, be perfect to sort of let it out. So it's the enthusiastic Mars energy will help encourage that Mercury communication. if you understand me. And while this aspect could be aggressive sometimes, it's better to get it out, especially before the new moon, ready for a fresh cycle or a fresh start. So don't forget, the sun is in this house until the 22nd, and it's shining a light, you know, that this could be the problem, you know, the problem or problematic, if you like, if you let it be. It's one of them, if it's left undealt with. So for those of you who are single and looking, it's, you know, again, a really positive aspect, especially if you've been feeling alone and in need of someone. This card as well can represent, you know, meeting at work, people that may be sort of like, you know, of interest to you, and that may be, you know, right there, but you've been so submerged in work and too busy to notice that they're right in front of you, and if only you'd have looked up. But we move on to the 8th house, which is of sharing, of self-searching, is in Virgo with the reversed 7 of Swords. Now this also in this house has the sun entering on the 22nd and Mercury entering on the 20th. Now the reverse 7 of Swords tells me that, you know, some of you are looking for a new situation. You really, you know, I really don't like this card, you know, if I'm honest. It always reminds me of a sneaky card, a cheat, a thief, but that's not always the case. But it does say to me that, you know, in a house of sharing, some of you are not sharing as much as you could, or perhaps you're not being shared with as much as somebody could share with you. So you know, and some, you know, are point blank refusing to share with a partner perhaps, and this could cause obstacles in your life. And, you know, for others, I see a way of like finding a way of dealing with a situation, to leave a situation, and but it's thinking of leaving a situation in like a slightly underhand way, if you like. So but the positive energy of the trine between Jupiter and Mercury on the 29th in this house highlights optimism. So perhaps this should be the advice here. It's not always necessary to sneak off. We all have choices, and this card is reversed, and the reversed energy is like bursting to get out, if you like. It's like an alternative energy because it's reversed. Also, there is a certain practical energy, you know, when the sun shines on Virgo later in the month, a practical ability to find alternatives. Without the sun shining on the 7 of Swords, it can represent a lack of thinking things through before taking drastic course of action, such as, you know, doing one by, or I need to find myself, or, you know, what's yours is mine and what's mine's my own, and, you know, attitude, and now I'm off. But the sun in this house will give you certain cautiousness, you know, so before you or someone close to it attempts this maneuver, if you like, the sun will help all this. The sign Virgo likes order and everything in its place, and this card is going to just upset the apple cart, really, because all these constant thoughts of leaving or finding yourself or finding an escape route will just form another obstacle, because you're left with 5 swords anyway, which is the number that represents obstacles. So there are ways to go around things, you know. This way isn't always the best. So if this resonates at all with any of you Aquarius, then it's a good idea to wait until later in the month before taking rash decisions or making really quick decisions, you know, that may have really long reaching consequences. And when the sun enters the house, hopefully things become clearer than they were earlier in the month, if you find yourself in this situation. Now, your 9th house of travel, ideas and philosophy excuse me, is the reversed King of Wands in Libra. Now here we see like a great creative card who's got a very, you know, transformative energy, and with, you know, the chameleons on his tunic there. But the thing I noticed first, apart from his reversal, is the purple robe in this house. It stands out to me and represents like the third eye chakra, and to say, you know, it's like you're not using, you won't be using, and not using, you might not be using your wisdom, which is leaving you with a form of imbalance. And this is in Libra, which is you know, represents the scales, so, you know, and about balance. So you could feel a little disconnected, and in a house of travel, this could resonate with many of you, you know, Aquarius, who want to travel but can't thanks to a pandemic, or who want you know, to do things. I had a big idea to start something creative and a new adventure, but you can't because of a pandemic. This energy can be balanced by balancing your third eye chakra. Just wearing purple will give it a boost. Crystals, bracelets, meditations. But ultimately, this card says that some of you are feeling a little like your creative juices are being quashed or held back in some way. Now, the lion there on his throne is not roaring as it would normally, because, you know, he's upside down and the blood's rushing to his head, giving him a bit of a headache. So it's another chakra sign out of balance. There we go. The idea is not as forthcoming as they were. So, you know, you're not thinking things as quickly as you would have done. So I think it's important to get this ninth house in the scales of Libra into balance, to be content throughout the month. Your 10th house of career ambitions and social status is in Scorpio with Temperance. Now, Temperance is like a compass that guides you if you let it. It doesn't behave in a pushy way. It's always your choice. But there is, you know, there's always in the background that she's there ready to support you if you need it. So this is a real card of rejuvenation, and you've got the lotus flowers that sink down into the water each night, re-emerge the next day, all fully refreshed. The Temperance loves everything in order, not like the Hierophant kind of order, but a balance order. And the last card, the reverse King of Wands, was referring to balance too. So the message here, Aquarius, is that there may be a need for moderation within your working life. Remember your 8 of Pentacles in the 7th house, which also refers to balancing work, home life balance. Well, the Temperance is here in the career house. So now for some of you, things will be reforming, rejuvenating, re-emerging. Look at the rainbow, it's transformation. There is a new path ahead. And for some of you, you'll be given the opportunity to walk this path, but it's up to you. Temperance comes from within. She won't force herself on you. It must be your choice. This month, it's time to sort of evaluate and change what you need to change if you want to change things, because things can become obsessive, and we all need to know where to draw the line. And if you add up the numbers, you know, that make 14 of the Temperance, you'll get 5, which is the Hierophant. And you know, the Hierophant again in your reading is over in the 3rd house of communication. So this again is about communicating your way, you know, to realise your ambition, if you like. You know, a way you may communicate is to promote yourself to gain a higher status at work, but at the same time try not, as in the 8 of Pentacles, to be solely concentrating just on your career or just on your love life. It's about balancing things in your life that will take you to higher places. So she's your compass, and she's saying, you know, perhaps, you know, stop drinking all that wine, or it's affecting your work, but it's really up to you. Or stop eating all those cakes because you can't get that confidence to get that job you want because you're moaning about your weight. Or stop staying up late watching films because you can't get up in the morning, and so on and so forth. But it's still your choice. And if you choose to. So she's not a forceful character. She's just there to remind you that you can still dip your toe in the water and test it out from time to time. You don't have to dive in right away to swim. So moving on to your 11th house of friends, groups, hopes, and you have the 2 of Swords in Sagittarius. Now the 2 of Swords in this house, for some of you, can relate to a decision that you don't want to make. So you cross your arms over your heart as if to protect it, and don't look, you know, sort of. But the idea is don't give this feeling, you know, don't give it the airtime. It doesn't deserve any. This card, you know, can be a bit of a. I'm going to sweep that under the carpet. It can be a card of high emotional confusion. It's a decision that you can't put off forever. It's a real choice card. It's a, you know, do you want to stay in the dark forever, or are you going to remove that blindfold and have a peek at what could be going on around your card? And for some of you this month, I said that it's staying in the dark. It is preferable, sort of almost better than facing things head on, if you know what I mean. So, and go back to the 7 of Swords card on the 8th house of sharing. This card representing your hopes, friends and groups around you. Perhaps you don't want to acknowledge what is staring you in the face, but if you don't, then how do you think you can ever deal with it? You know, Now, while you have the obvious scenarios of friends not being as true as they could, perhaps we could also, have a possibility where you may be like what you may be doing, sorry, regarding the energy of this friend. So you may be making decisions that you're not foreseeing what consequences could manifest. So it's about being in denial. It's also, really feels quite strongly that friends could have a big impact for some of you and how you tackle decisions. So if you want to confess something or share something that's perhaps, a bit off the wall, or a little, tell a close friend who you really are, then this card says, for some reason you're scared to do this, fear of reprisal, fear of their opinions. However, in the 12th house of endings, reflections, and your subconscious is the Magician in Capricorn with some big planet energies. Now, although they're all retrograde energies this month, Saturn, Jupiter and Pluto are in the house. And this makes some really exciting energies because this is the house of putting things to bed, finding out how to stop certain habits or behaviours, finding alternative routes that are deep, needs or desires within you. The Magician in this house is great stuff because the Magician controls all the things around him with his control over his elements, such as his thinking, emotions, creativity, his thoughts. And of course, he's a card of communication, he's upright. So this is not a lack or lessened or alternative energy. So by the 12th house, it's likely somewhere deep down you'll find a way to communicate better with others what you need to communicate to make things happen, if you know what I mean. But for some of you, the Magician in your house of the subconscious can suggest a need for you to inspire others by talking to them, a new start, a new journey of self, which brings you back to the first house of self, and the Ace of Swords with the big ideas. But the Magic Man doesn't hold any real significant troubles in this house. On the contrary, he wants to tell you that by coming out to the world, your true self, things will be fine, because the Magician has a way with words. So he should be able to articulate himself correctly. The Magician in this house is sending this energy of a new beginning. He's saying it's okay to be you. I really feel for many of you that there will be massive transformations this month, Aquarius. Positive transformations that will help to like communications and patience. And the planet's effects on this house in Capricorn are quite intense. And I could go on about it forever, but you've got some squares, some trines and oppositions, and quite a few of them, to be fair. But the most exciting one, because let's just focus on the positives here, when Mercury when Mercury is, which is your planet of communication, who rules the Magician, is trine with Jupiter, your planet of growth and fortune. And this happens right at the end of the month on the 29th of August. And this can manifest as a wrapping everything in a box complete with a neat bow. It's an optimistic energy that wants to see growth and believes in it, as does the Magician, who believes in himself fully and wholeheartedly. So I think many of you will begin this sort of new, period of sort of growth this month. And by the time the end of the month comes, I feel you'll really have a handle on things. By the way, Aquarius, the dates I've mentioned for you to look out for, I'm going to post on a page for you on my site, thetarotmentor.com. So if you can't remember, just head over there and check them out. And if you like my deck I've created, it's called the Pathway Tarot, and you can also order one from my site if you want one. Well, Aquarius, thanks for watching this Tarology cast, and I hope it resonates with you, and I hope you're all well for the month of August. And if you like this video, then please hit the like button, and if you'd like notifications when I post next, then please hit the subscribe button. Thank you, Aquarius, for watching. Bye for now. God bless. Bye.